morning, folks. This is USVA Breaking News with me, Patrick, your host, and Chris, our live reporter. Heading on to the latest world news, in the United States of America, President Roosevelt signs the GI Bill of Rights. GI Bill was created to help veterans of World War II. It establishes hospitals, makes low-interest mortgages available, and grants stipends covering tuition and expenses for veterans attending colleges or trade schools.
In the White House at Washington, President Roosevelt approves legislation to provide for America's war veterans in the peace to come. By law, federal loans, free schooling, job insurance, and complete rehabilitation are among the benefits assured every man and woman in the service. Here is a typical center already established for convalescents. Here, men who have been discharged from hospitals come to receive aid in preparing them for civilian life. They have comfortable quarters and live very much like boys at school. Every facility for physical and mental therapy is used to help rebuild and recondition the men. Farm chores are welcome chores to men just back from the war.
In Germany, after World War II, Germany was divided into 4 zones under the control of the United States, Britain, France, and the former Soviet Union. The Big Four officially took supreme authority over Germany. Berlin, which was located deep in the Soviet zone, was also divided into 4 zones. The United Kingdom, Soviet Union, and the United States had a meeting in Potsdam in which they agreed to govern Germany together and rebuild the democracy. They also agreed to settle down the German refugees from the Eastern Germany under control of agreement. Heading on to the final topic for today in Japan. Japan has been occupied by America after the defeat of Japan in World War II by U.S. U.S.-led allies to occupy and rehabilitate Japan. U.S. has occupied the forces by General Douglas A. MacArthur. The leader of the Allies, powers of Great Britain, Soviet Union, Republic of China, and the U.S. discuss how to disarm Japan and stabilize the Japanese economy and to prevent remilitarization in the future. And we have live news from our live reporter, Chris.
With American occupation, the Japanese people soon discovered that there are other ways of life and other kinds of armies. From the moment of their arrival on the home islands of Japan, American forces plunged themselves wholeheartedly into the gigantic task of reconstruction. Clearly, this was a new kind of military occupation. Thus encouraged, the Japanese people themselves soon went to work. Their vast industrial capacity, their capital resources almost demolished, they yet retained those assets which had made them for hundreds of years one of the first nations of Asia: manpower, initiative, and high intelligence. Japan's industrialists have, since the 19th century, been mastering the techniques of modern industrial production. The war set them back several years, but with American help, they have been quick to catch up. During the post-war period, Japan's industrial redevelopment was aided immeasurably, not only by United States government cooperation, but also by technical and investment assistance from some of America's leading industrial concerns.
Outside the United Nations headquarters in New York, where countries are discussing with each other world issues. The United Nations are in intergovernmental organization to promote the international cooperation. It's essentially a replacement for the effective League of Nations. The organization was established on 24th of October in 1945 after the World War II in order to prevent another such conflict. There is a debate over the country leaders about the Marshall Plan or the European Recovery Program. This plan was formulated in the order to pave the way of the economic, infrastructural and personal recovery in the war-torn region of the Europe after World War II. Leaders also discussing about the conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union, two very ideologically and political separate power. The United States and the Soviet Union are both waving for the global power. Capitalism versus communism. For listening, this is Chris signing off from United Nations in New York. We have a special guest for today's interview. Please thank World War II veteran Douglas Smith. Thanks for joining us today, Douglas.
Thank you.
Recently, President Roosevelt signed the USVA bill. How has this impacted you?
This has benefited me greatly. This bill allows me to get an education in college since it covers the tuition. It also gives me hiring privileges and unemployment benefits, so it's great for wartime veterans like me.
Do you think the Allied occupation of Japan is correct?
Yes, I think it's justified. This occupation will transform Japan into a democracy. It will stabilize its economy, thus preventing future remilitarization, and it will give Japanese citizens freedom of speech by removing censorship, as well as liberalizing the government and economy. All in all, I think this is
What
beneficial.
are your thoughts of rising tension between US and Soviet Union?
I think that the race for more advanced arms will only make weapons of both sides more dangerous and lethal. So if war does happen, then the destruction of both states will be mutually assured. And so therefore, I think that war should be avoided at all costs, and that the US and Soviet Union should put aside their vastly ideological differences so that humanity is not destroyed.
Thank you for joining us with this interview, Dr. Smith.
Thank you.